Hi, we'll get on with the session about couple of minutes. We are just waiting for some more people to join in. I'm just seeing that. So just hold on for a couple of minutes, please. Hi, good evening, and a very warm welcome to this webinar on Money Matters with Kedar Teni. In today's session, he will talk about his tryst with personal finance and how we moved from a financial illiteracy mode to financial evangelism. Thank you for taking time out to attend this session. We'll make sure you have some valuable takeaways today. I'm Jyoti Iyengar. I'm a financial coach and vice president with MFA. We are a niche wealth management firm born 15 years ago in the year 2005 with the vision to be the most respected firm in the financial services space globally. Our mission is to provide life-centered planning to our clients and take care of their money the way we would take care of our parents' money or our best friend's money. Happiness Factory is our own fintech company which tracks the goals online. We cater to 4 different types of professions: doctors, corporate executives, business owners, and a few celebrities. We also have specialized services for retirees, families of children with special needs, and women who want to be independent. The speakers of today are Chitra Iyer, CEO at MFA, and our very special guest, Kedar Teni, Senior Vice President and Country Manager at Avatar.me. And now, let me introduce Chitra over to you. Ms. Chitra Iyer has been a strong pillar for MFA since its inception in 2005. With her ability to plan strategically, she has been instrumental in creating a brand image of MFA. She is a cost accountant and a certified financial planner with over 20 years of experience in the financial services space. As a CEO at MFA, she overlooks all functions of the company across various teams. She also heads the business owners and CXO practice vertical. She's a fabulous strategist with an ability to spot opportunities which have helped the firm expand its services across various practices. She's a super enthusiastic woman who is passionate about making a meaningful difference in people's life through the right life-centered planning for the family. Similarly, her love for her team members at MFA has helped build its culture and establish Happiness Factory in its true essence today. It is also my privilege and pleasure to introduce our special guest, Kedar Teni. Kedar is a seasoned advertising and marketing professional with over 2 decades of experience across some of the most iconic blue chip organizations like Clintas, Airtel, Unilever, McDonald's, Sony Entertainment, and currently the country manager for Avatar.me, which is a deep tech AI enterprise in the space of 3D AR and XR. Kedar is a family man at heart, a proud husband of Priya Balan, and a doting father to their 9-year-old twins. He takes deep interest in politics, has good ear for music, and as he says, he can sing to save his life if it so comes to that. He loves his weekends because that gives him an opportunity to cook a storm, and he's always ready to travel at the drop of a hat. We sure are looking forward to those pearls of wisdom from you, Kedar.
Thank
On
you.
that note, over to you, Chitra. Chitra, you're on mute.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much, Jyoti. Yeah, Kedar, thanks a ton for agreeing to do this. And
My pleasure. My
you
pleasure.
know, whenever, even now, when I was talking to somebody about, this is what Kedar is going to do, and we're going to talk about money. Don't tell me about money. I mean, I know how much I hate about listening about anything to do about finance. And I'm trying to say that it's not about finance. It's actually his personal story.
Yeah.
And it's great to we think that this is the right way to reach out to people, and when we share personal stories, it becomes so much more. People resonate with what's happening in their lives, with what they're listening to about another person, and they're able to perhaps take those decisions. It's not that we can expect everyone to go by what we say, right?
Right.
So super happy to have you over. It's a complete informal chat session that we're having,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for all the attendees who have come in to listen to Kedar
Yeah.
on a Saturday evening. And I'm just going to hand it over to you, Kedar.
Thank you.
Please
Thank you so
share.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chitra. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for inviting me and thinking it's worthy enough to share my story with people. Not that it's some Bollywood pot boiler, but you know, I'll I'll do my best. Also want to thank the listeners for tuning in on a Saturday evening. I promise this is not going to be a long one. I'll just quickly give you a bit of a background on me, my story, my interest with personal finance and how it's played out. So with that, just wanted to give some caveats before we begin. Firstly, I'm not a financial expert at all, right? So this is a very layman narrative of how I see personal finance. Um, so since this is my story, by no means is it an advice, right, to anybody. It's just, if there are any insights that you pick up from here and find it relevant, please do use it. But over the years, I've realized that my story is not really unique, and the macro data of mutual fund penetration confirms that, right? Tons of effort has been made across distribution platforms, across the entire body coming together as Amphi. They've done a stupendous job of creating market development for mutual funds for sure. But we still haven't even scratched the surface yet, and therefore I realized that my story is not really unique in that sense. So there's a lot of job to be done still here. Therefore, the endeavor today is essentially to share some insights from my journey, from my financial illiteracy to some degree of financial evangelism that I've got to, and guide as many people to the right people, because I'm not the expert, who can help you really, hit your levels of independence. Because to me, financial planning is nothing but, a level of independence that it gives you eventually. And therefore, I really call it independence more than financial planning, right? So just to quickly go back, started my career in advertising, and it's no secret that the base pays in advertising aren't exactly industry benchmarks anywhere, right? And when you really start off there is really nothing to really show or show at home or into the bank, right? The only thing one had at that point in time was age, and that can be like invincibility on steroids, right? Where experience is valued far more than the money in the bank. And there was actually no room, no time, no inclination to work on personal finances, simply because there wasn't enough ever, right? Running out of money before the month end was not unusual. So life was a bit like, चला जाता हूँ किसी की धुन में धड़कते दिल के तराने लिए. It was all fun, energy, youth, everything was on your side, right? Just that there was not enough money. Um, and also during that time when I was in Lintas in my early days, I remember a friend of mine, he had written an amazing campaign for ICICI Prudential, retirement solutions. Quite, I mean, it was an ad that I saw when I was just starting out in my career. And that ad was about, a man in his 30s, actually, 30, 35 type kind of a person, who's saying कि मैं रिटायर नहीं होऊंगा अपनी जिद से, मैं रिटायर नहीं होऊंगा अपने माय ऑल माय पर्सनल एम्बिशंस आई विल नॉट रिटायर फ्रॉम. एंड द किलर लाइन एट द एंड विच जस्ट सेड, मैं रिटायर होऊंगा तो सिर्फ अपने काम से. एंड that to me was, some sort of awakening. So this is the journey actually for me, if I were to really sum it up, is between चला जाता हूँ किसी की धुन में to मैं रिटायर होऊंगा तो सिर्फ अपने काम से, right? uh, of course, there was some random stupid investments that we made in LIC just to, check boxes, because I think the concept of investment was more about saving tax and never about, creating investments, right? Uh, Also, to be fair, during the early 2000s, the idea of personal finance was to make investment, save tax, like I was saying, and the concept didn't exist in people's mind, right? Investing in equity wasn't for the faint-hearted. It was also not as easy as it is today. Today, thanks to Zerodha, ICICI Direct, HDFC Securities, Motilal Oswal, etc., you can at the click of a button buy one share if you want to. But at that point in time, that option was never available. You needed to figure out some broker who will create some account in his office. Then you have to call and book. In the lives that we were leading, there was no chance we were ever going to be able to track, stock markets at that pace, right? Um, so uh, and I realized that, that concept just didn't exist, right? There was also, an entire nation had come out of the 92 scam of Harshad Mehta, the ULIP crash that had happened. All of these things had also made people kind of believe that, yeah, I think it's better, safer to keep the money in the bank than, keep it anywhere. Firstly, there has to be enough, and B, if it is there, it's better to be in the bank than anywhere else, right? The concept that you needed to, put in the hard yards to make the money was well known, but that your money can work harder for you was not really commonly understood. The only people who understood that was, I think, the BFSI institution. They knew that money can make money. The rest of them are only working hard for their money, right? uh, so if I were to really zoom from the above scenario, the invincibility on steroids that I was talking about was making life absolutely worth living, right? But leaving you at the same time in a very contradictory way, leaving you worried on the money front. Because after the first 2 3 years of job, when we realized that, okay, appraisals aren't that great, and the expenses are only increasing. So how do you manage this, right? Aspirations were rising, bank balances were depleting. The solve was fairly simple. Next thing, but credit card. So in comes credit card, and life becomes extended, right? Now it's fun has just gotten extended. uh, so that plus, some bridge finance of a, loan for a holiday, etc., all these things started happening, right? And that was living the life, but you knew that the life was a borrowed life. It was never your life, and it was a borrowed life, and that was beginning to kind of, bother. uh, Eventually incomes would rise, and so would aspirations with its expenses. The chances of this happening at 25 getting repeated 45 was pretty much looking like a guaranteed situation, right? So we realized, I mean, we have to do something. And this realization happened when we got married, right? We were now a classic double income, no kid setup. Income had doubled, but expenses had tripled. uh, and I was lost, we were lost, both Priya and me were lost at this point in time. Uh, Despite, the whole invincibility of youth that I was talking about, but the knowledge that one hadn't managed finances better was, we were kind of hesitant to seek help at this point in time, because we wanted the life to go on, and didn't want to know the mistakes we had made, right? It's one thing to know, and another thing to actually accept that you are actually in trouble and you need some help. Because accepting means you're ready to seek advice, and that's the tough part, because it's a bit like taking, a blood test. Um, because you don't want to know the uncomfortable truth. So you kind of, keep pushing that, yeah, jab tak, abhi to kuch nahi hoga, there's nothing wrong. We'll manage, we'll somehow pull through. That's okay. Uh, but and also what will happen is that when the report comes out, you will suddenly realize that you will now need to make some lifestyle changes which you were not ready to, because I've come to realize lifestyle is actually like cocaine. It's addictive and it's very hard to shake off. So uh, that's the nasha that you were in, but you also knew that there was some realization. So I'm just going to walk you through a couple of lessons that I learned along the way. First lesson for me was, it's okay to be lost. It's fine, right? Uh, but accepting it is more important, because you can be only found if you are lost, right? So we accepted that we were lost and we needed to be found, and stop pretending that life is all about discovery and experiences. There is a little more to life than that. The second thing was essentially is, actually do get your blood report. It's fine. And that blood report, I mean, I'm just drawing a parallel here. I mean, is it's all about cash flows, right? Finally, that's the one that's really going to set your house in order. Cash flow is something that we all do really well for our businesses, right? We know everything, where it's coming from, revenue kahan se aa raha hai, expenses kahan pe ja raha hai, all that we know. But we tend to kind of ignore our own personal cash flow, right? For example, I lived with this notion for a really long time that our annual expenses were greater than annual income. But the answer was simple. It actually lay in the cash flows, because there were months where the outflow was greater than the inflow, and in some months where the inflow was greater than the outflow, right? But this blood report kind of gave us the confidence that it's not that you don't have anything at the end of the month. There is, if you wanted to, if you want to carve it out, it's available to you. You just need to make minor adjustments on a monthly basis, not at a large scale changes. It's about making those minor changes in the lifestyle, as opposed to making drastic lifestyle changes, right? That was really comforting. And towards the end of this, probably I'll share how we went about doing this. It's a simple Excel sheet that I had created, because I think the time had come for me to actually put that down. It took us almost really a year to put that thing in shape, for it to start giving us the confidence to start increasing our outlays towards investments, and more on that a little later. The third lesson that I found very critical was, meet the right doctor. It's absolutely important, right? And the doctor here, I mean, is the financial advisor in your life, right? Because it's not about the medicine. Finally, the clutch of mutual funds that you'll be recommended by one doctor will be the same as another doctor. It will be a 19-20 ka farak here and there. But realistically speaking, it's not about the medicine. It's about which doctor really understands that your definitions and expectations from life, and what role does really money play in it, right? And that is very important. I don't want a doctor who tells me, don't have wine, don't have chicken, don't have fish, don't have that. I want the doctor who tells me, you can do all this, but in a certain cadence, right? So I'm not coming here to cut your umbilical cord from anything that you really enjoy doing, but I'm wanting to help you find out how you can do this along with that. So the and mindset doctors who I'm looking for, not the or mindset doctor, right? Um, so we were, like we were saying, since we were going through our feeling of being lost, and we reached out. There was somebody who came in our life at very early on, right? And he understood our current situation. He gave us a very high level understanding of what cash flows were. We did the income expense thing, understood what our debt was, including loans, credit card outstanding, etc. And one of the things that we tend to completely ignore, and one of the things that we saw, at least in advertising, most people don't claim their claimables only. Medical, LTA, just goes, it just keeps on lapsing, you and end up paying tax on it. So those are a part of your CTC, and you tend to ignore that many a times. So we actually spent 6 months. And what I liked about his approach was he didn't come saying, let's start investing. He came in saying, let's first clean your backyard. That is most important to do. And we spent first 6 months actually just cleaning up our loans and became debt free. And that's when you realize the amount of money you actually had was fairly reasonable for you to at least get started, right? And that was the start of our journey. Uh, as we started doing this, and one of the things that he also did was, come 1st of April, he would stand on our door saying, okay, so appraisal must have happened, some money must have increased. Can I take some money from here? I want it to go. Uh, it was nice, it was great, absolutely. But one thing that I realized when I started, getting more and more involved in this space is that you need to be in, which is my next lesson that I learned is, you need to be goal oriented and not pot of gold oriented. So goal oriented, not gold oriented, right? uh, so the mistake that a lot of people do is, when they meet a financial advisor, okay, so if I'm giving you 100 rupees today, will it become 1010? Like, why should it, is the question, right? Why should it? Aren't there, in between those 10 years, don't you have milestones that you have to meet? And you will need that money there, so there will always be exits at that point in time. So for me, I think making peace with that I'm not looking at a pot of gold, but I'm wanting to go goal oriented, because at that milestone a chunk of money will go away from there, your corpus will come down. But the fact that you've achieved one goal is important to signal to yourself mentally, right? So that was something that, when I started interacting with Chitra and the Happiness Factory teams, I realized, okay, fine, this is fantastic. When I saw my timeline in front of me, and when Priya and me sat there, worked our goals out, and as we started meeting some of them, of course, there are some really long-term ones that still need to be met, but in the way we are looking at it, it gives us a lot more confidence today that, yeah, it's attainable, it's manageable, it's doable. You don't have to worry about having to be on the treadmill of life, right? You can, मैं retire होऊंगा तो सिर्फ अपने काम से, is no longer an ad for me, it's also a possibility, right? And that is very, very important for you to, as you chart through life, right? uh, Fifth lesson that I realized, keep an experiment fund at hand. And this is where, I know Chitra and me have spoken about it, but I'm just exaggerating it a little bit. I know equity is something, direct equity exposure is not something that they recommend, but I managed to keep a very small fund out to keep trying this thing, right? So I started investing in heirloom stocks like HUL, HDFC Bank, etc. But I didn't do it to time the market, but I just did it as SIP, just a good habit. Keep whatever is that corpus, just buy, even if it is two stocks that will come because the price of that stock has gone up at that point in time. Do it, and I have seen now the mutual fund side as well as the these heirloom stocks put together are standing in really good stead for the future, right? These are not stocks that I want to encash. What, like I said, these are heirloom stocks. I hopefully I'm only hoping that these get passed on, right? Because that's something that I felt that my dad and mom didn't do. So I said, now I want to do this. We want to do this for our children. Um, Sixth one I thought is an important thing, which is, long term success, you need long term discipline, right? Windfalls are for the lucky, and more often than not, lucky are very few. So you got to keep an eye on cash flow. You got to stay disciplined, because once that becomes a habit, it becomes a nature, and once that becomes a nature, it becomes you. So it doesn't become an effort anymore, right? You just keep at it, and what that means is that you got to have that discipline of, at the end of the day, when I take you through that Excel sheet, you will see at the end of the day, Priya and me used to sit and actually say, okay, so today where all have you spent? And since those expense heads were earmarked, we could just equal to plus for today and keep adding it up, so that against what heads are your really expenses stacking up. And that started giving us a very good picture of where we stand today and what is our potential for the immediate future. Last lesson that I feel is important is, help as many as you can. Don't keep this a secret. This is not a formula, right? Make people evangelize them, sit with them, help them understand what it takes, because a lot of people get lost in this, right? um, and I have had the fortune of and I always start with the people I want to really help out with my Excel sheet, because that's the level of detailing that we don't do for ourselves. We do this for our businesses, but we don't do it for ourselves. So I think as people start getting into that habit, they soon realize actually what their potential is. uh, they realize that it's actually they've underballed their potential. They actually have enough and more to do, and to contribute towards their investments. But just because the planning hasn't been done hard and strong enough, you always feel I don't have enough, right? So uh, get more and more people, because the happiness that it spreads is invaluable, right? And without really doing much. So don't keep it a secret. And my last thing I realize is that um, there is no there is no end to saving, and there is no end to actually spending, right? Life is somewhere in between that. You got to find your own cadence. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be on the left of center, or do you want to be right of center, or do you want to be in the center? Choice is entirely yours, and no amount is small and no amount is large to start. The only thing is, start early, because the earlier you do it, the better it is. Because I realized today, when I started off at the age of about 30. uh, and I wish if I had done this maybe 5 years, even 5 years before, that compounding would have been very different from where it is at 30. But 30 is still not bad. So if you can get this habit as early on as possible, keep increasing your investment levels on an annual basis. That increment that you get in the year, you must earmark some part of it towards increasing your corpus, and towards your investment corpus, and enjoy the ride of compounding. That's what those are my learnings, Chitra, for whatever it is.
Nay, Kedar, you summarized it so beautifully in the end, and every single thing that you shared, which is so you, which is your story.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for making it so simple
Oh, thank you.
and sharing it with us.
Thank you.
I want to really summarize a couple of things very important that you said in terms of the spend and save. For sure, nobody wants to, like you said, say right of the middle or left of the middle. We have to find it ourselves.
Yeah.
And what, like
So
you
there is
said,
there is no formula that works for
yeah, for
one formula.
everyone, it can't be the same thing. And
Yeah.
at different points in time, different, you might be at different levels also,
Yes.
right? So, and then it comes to you. I mean,
Yes.
you realize yourself at a certain point in time, and we figured out, that obviously as goals start becoming very clear, the clarity comes. The For some guys, it's instant. पहले से ही आ जाता है.
Yeah.
Something maybe they get from family, maybe from parents, or sometimes So yeah, for those who are the wealthy, who actually have already seen money since their birth, they already see that how is it that the family is managing the money, right?
Yeah.
And then they have to just go with that flow. I mean, they don't have any two ways about it.
Right.
But for people who are actually starting small and building their way up, and then they're getting in the money, and then they have to figure out,
Yeah.
like you rightly said, what's the point in squeezing yourself and say no, 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 I cannot spend on a latte, or I'm not going to go buy a car.
Yeah.
And at certain times in life, you will need to want to do that. And
Right.
there's a very beautiful article that Abar has written on this, which is coming soon, about uh, when it is a choice about spending today
Hmm.
or saving today,
Right.
right? So if you're spending today, you're spending on the current you.
Right.
But if you're saving today, it is for the future you.
Right.
I mean, he said it so beautifully. It's
Right.
coming
Yeah.
in a couple of days, and it's like, and we all have to realize that future you at some point in time, and we will. Then that
Yes.
that flows in beautifully. Till then, no, you're left hanging. Ki kya karna hai?
Right.
So something amazing that you said, and which we observe all the time. Another thing, the minor changes that you spoke about.
Right.
That's so important because I'm sure you and Priya did something where you figured I want to hold back on something or I want to do something more. I
Yeah.
guess that when you share your cash flow,
Yeah.
you will be able to actually,
I'll just do
yeah,
that.
please, please,
I'll just do that.
that will be helpful. So Kedar has this brilliant Excel that when we met, he said, "I do this, Chitra," and I was like, "Wow! If only everyone did even a portion of this, it would be great."
Yeah. So this is just a quick.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly walk through, and this is the discipline that I was talking about. If you're a double income kid, double income no kid, or double income household, then there are of course two salaries, and that gives you right at the top, to really what the inflows of cash are at home. Uh, I'll just quickly go to the next part, which is, these are more the predictable expenses that happen every month, right? And trust me, this line items that I have put here have evolved, and as you start building your own sheet, you will figure out that there are some items here that are unique to me and that will need to be added here, etc. But this is something that we did. So if we typically, people have two cars today, they're all on EMI. So what that EMI is, if there are any other personal loans that you've got, if there are, then there is mobile, electricity, the entire utility stuff, your staff salaries, your driver, your fuel expenses, your Ola, Ubers. Is there any other contributions that you're making? Classes for kids, all the way down to salon, to birthday gifts, and wining dining. Right now, these are expenses that happen typically, on a monthly basis. So therefore, that takes care of the monthly thing. Now this is a predictable chart. You will typically find that this will be have a variance of plus minus 15% on a monthly basis, right? Because you may not travel as much in a month, so therefore your fuel expenses will not be there. But by and large, most of the other stuff tends to be there, right? uh, it's your non-monthly that kind of upsets the rhythm, because these come in large chunks and they come in a particular month. And if in a month you find that there are 4 or 5 big line items hitting you in that particular month, you realize that you are going out of your income for that month, right? For that month cash flow, you're running negative.
Hmm.
This is where, if you've not planned enough and you felt that in your previous month you had enough money, and therefore you went and were a little more liberal on your spendings, and realized that you didn't have enough saving to compensate for that, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the imbalance happens, and that's when the credit card comes out, and that's when things go for a bit of a toss, right? um, and so therefore, it's your school fees, insurance premiums. These are come either monthly or quarterly. These come quarterly or yearly, depending on what kind of plans you've chosen. There is a CA fee, that because you have to file for your taxes at some point, there will be a fat bill that will come from there as well. um, there is a vacation that comes up. There are apparel and accessories that you keep buying. There's Diwali gifting that happens, Diwali bonuses. So for example, in the month of October or November, your finances get completely out of whack, because
Yeah.
you had to, not just your monthly salary that you're paying out to your staff, but an entire chunk of that monthly salary for each one of them has to be paid out there. So how are you, if you don't start saving that early on, you will not be able to hit that November cleanly, right? Or October, whenever that Diwali is. Then there is, if you've got club memberships, you've got medical insurance, all of these. So this is how your non-monthly would stack up, and that kind of starts giving you what your total expenses are. And then actually how much money actually available to you in your for your investments. And
Yeah.
that's when you are able to figure out the income to outflow, this thing. And then there's a summary sheet, so it's all linked. So once you start putting this in here, you'll be able to actually figure out, so that when you go into next year's planning, your numbers, by and large, by line item, and you're able to plan your life much better. So
I've seen you doing this, Kedar, and hats off to you that you build this so nicely. We've even shared it with so many clients who have this uh, you know uh, thing of being disciplined and meticulous and appreciate it. Otherwise, there are many people who get scared also of an Excel. But
Yeah.
those who really know that, yeah, I need to do this right, and I need to budget for those non-monthly ones.
Yeah.
And then they get comfortable with, should I keep the money in the bank and put it in a sweepen, or should I use a liquid fund? And
Yeah.
how can I max out even there in terms of my post-tax return? What do I do? And then they get better at it.
Correct.
Then they start asking, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I keep this for only 3 months, or should I keep it for 6 months? And how much money should I always have? And what can I keep aside as an emergency fund? And it gets so nice when you see that that person is educating themselves and really, really getting
Yeah.
much better at it. So thanks for sharing this. And here, this is where, like you said, the minor changes can actually be caught and made,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because you know exactly where you're overshooting.
See, that's the power of data, right? I mean, we sit and take database decisions on our work front, but we don't build enough data sets around ourselves, and that kind of that same discipline, if you were to put on yourself, you'll be able to find that you can actually hit all those things that, like I was telling you, that I wanted to meet that doctor who tells me that it's fine to have a drink and have your enjoy your chicken, but not someone who comes and tells me I will not let you do both.
Yeah, I don't have it. Yeah, absolutely. Kedar, when do you think? When you shared about it did make a difference when you had to put down your goals, right?
Yes.
So, if you could share how life changing it was, if at all, for you, and this whole concept of goal based planning versus, say, what you were doing earlier,
Mhm.
how do you think it impacted you?
Well, I think again, every batsman wants to hit a century, right? Uh, but it's about one run at a time, and I
Yeah,
think that to me was the suddenly the goals, when it gets broken down, it seems a lot more attainable at a very, very high level. You know what needs to be put in. You also uh, know that, okay, fine, if this is what I need, as my corpus towards the end of my professional life, uh, you know that there is a certain number that you have to hit. Now it may be possible, it may not be possible, but at least knowing fully well that hey, this is at least that much you will need. And if you're not going to be able to get there, then you'll have to make some changes somewhere else.
yeah,
So at least your wake, it doesn't come as a rude shock to you at some point in your life, saying, but I did so much, and why is it not adding up?
right.
Right. And that's when you realize that what you were doing was not inflation beating that.
Hmm. Um, Also, another thing is we've seen a lot of pink slips, okay, last 6 months, more than that. And we've seen quite a few uh, uh, pay cuts also.
Right.
So, if I were to ask you, how did you, get ready? I mean, COVID happened suddenly, and
Right.
nobody, and then all of this had to, be taken care of. So, what did you do right? Do you think to take care of it?
um so in fact, we did, I think, when COVID happened, and I was at Tilt at that point in time, we did, as a leadership team, actually take a 50% cut, right? And that's when I think I came to you and said that, listen, I would like to take a pause um,
SIP.
for 3 months, because I just want to understand, because this is something that none of us had factored, right? That there is that this kind of unprecedented turn of events would have a fairly telling blow on the economic situation for all and everybody concerned, right? Uh, so I wanted to actually see how this is playing out, to be able to understand, will I be able to commit the kind of money that I'm putting in right now into it, because this is a 50% cut is a significant cut. Um, but as I started realizing, some happened per force, some happened through self discipline, etc. uh, I realized that actually the amount of casual eating out that was happening during the regular times, right? And it's actually what I call is it's a silent creep on your savings, right? You just go. There were many times when Priyan me would just say, before going home, why don't we, just go to Fatty Bar for grab a drink and an evening snack before going home. Um, Without batting an eyelid, that bill would be 4 to 5 thousand rupees, and uh, you know those expenses significantly came down, right? And uh, your commute bill came down. A lot
Totally.
of those
I
things
mean,
came down.
nobody is traveling. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So immediately after that, as soon as that happened, I came back to you saying, "Hey, Chitra,
I want to restart. Yeah.
I want to restart." And
That's exactly what, I really appreciate about you is in terms of your sense of discipline of, I want to get back on track.
yeah,
No, I don't want this to affect me because I did this.
yeah.
And,
It would have been very easy to just
just say that, no, let me
pull the
wait and
plug,
see.
and everybody would have understood.
होने
कि,
दो करके, चलेगा,
50%
let's
गया
see,
है,
wait it out.
but yeah, that kind of helped us stay on track. It was not to the same levels as the original number was, but we are back again
True.
on that.
In fact, the big thing that I want to ask you, since I know that you talk to a lot of people and you guide them, especially you talk to a lot of friends and coach them about why this is very important.
Right.
There is this inherent pressure of lifestyle, uh, that we have to display a certain kind of lifestyle amongst peers, or there is also this thing about uh, stretching beyond the wants and going into that luxury space. Suddenly, it just happens.
Right.
So what, according to you, since you talk to a lot of people, and I know that you're extremely observant
Mm.
and are able to spot these kind of classic mistakes that people make.
Right.
So what would you tell people of your gen? Yeah.
Um, Well, couple of things, as in, firstly, like I said, I'm not a
No,
financial
completely from non-finance. Yeah.
advisor. So, uh, like I said, I think, if I come from the belief that if I can, anyone can, right? Because I was just not that person. I am not that. I don't think I still am that person, but uh, somewhere along the line, the influence of my father-in-law, and he's there on the call. I can see,
Yeah.
where he would keep talking about financial discipline, and I saw the value in that, and I think he has had a big role to play in influencing my mind in a direction that I should have gone uh, earlier, but better late than never. So that kind of
He's influenced
always,
all of us.
yeah,
Continue.
that that kind of really pushes me to share with people whatever I'm not the kind of person who, like, I'm not sitting on a Coke formula, right? I'm sitting on a formula that actually has Coke talks about open happiness,
You're
but
right.
but it doesn't share the formula. I want to open happiness, and I want to share the formula.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. So one more thing I want to dig a little deeper here only is
Right.
that so this concept of we all holiday, and so the concept of saving for holidays,
Yeah.
or saving for that luxury piece, whether it's jewelry or it's anything else,
Right.
then that needs to be done. So uh, for some people it's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
They just don't get around to doing it, and for some people it's just like, so kya hua? Swipe the card.
Right.
So what do you have to say on that?
Well, see, I think everybody deserves their sense of luxury. Like, I don't want to define what luxury for individuals is.
For anybody else?
Yeah, for anybody, right? For me, what could be luxury could be impulse for somebody, right?
Yeah.
For me, for my that luxury, I'll need to really plan a lot. Whereas for some, it could just be an impulse.
Yep.
There are people who can go and buy a BMW from a showroom on an impulse. There are some who need to really think hard and maybe even cancel it, right? Saying, no, yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? So it depends on what that is. I think me, as long as you are well covered, as long as you've planned enough to get there, by all means go ahead and do it. Impulse pe kar rahe ho, so there is you're not fraught of risk with that.
Yeah.
Therefore, it again comes back to that same point, right? If you know your cash flows well, you will know whether it makes sense or not. So sometimes I feel maybe it takes an instinct out of you, but it's okay because you don't face the consequences as hard as you would if you were to do it only on a lark.
Yes, absolutely. What about property? Like, in terms of your gen, the next
Yeah,
gen, let's keep that away. The young gen, I don't know.
they've given up.
Yeah, but what do you think about property as a asset class? Do you still
I
think
think
that?
I think it's the one that I think we've all grown up with that hammering. Couple of hammerings that happened during our childhood growing up, right? One was PCM में कितना number आया. Uh, the second one was Ruparel में गया कि नहीं गया. Then VJTI IIT हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. Yeah, medicine हुआ, Grant Medical College हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. So there was very limited thing, and all of this was only being pushed to the point saying यार घर होना चाहिए, right? शादी and घर and बच्चे. That was the pyramid of life, right? So one has grown with the notion of saying, yeah, you need to have your own house, I think, but this whole thing of the gluttony of acquiring more real estate is actually foolish. You're seeing the consequences of it, right?
Yep.
Actually, now I'm seeing a lot of people, even from my generation, who got their homes, are wanting to put that out on rent and go and live in apartments which are newer, larger, and for almost the, for money that really doesn't hurt, paying out on a monthly basis.
Right.
So clearly it's telling you the importance of property is seemingly diminishing.
Okay.
You can see the rates are also falling. Of course, COVID has had, there is a COVID factor to this, but even prior to COVID, I think property rates were definitely coming down. So multiple units is not something that I would have subscribed to from here onwards. Uh, Unless you're going and building out your own holiday home or whatever, your second home. But beyond that, I don't see any reason for it. But there also now you've got Airbnb and choices. So I'd rather travel asset light now than travel asset heavy. Uh, so that's my take on real estate and property. Yeah,
Absolutely right. Absolutely. I think we are very, very, very soon.
be as liquid as possible.
Yep.
जितना liquid हो सकता है उतना रहो.
Especially the next gen, your next gen,
Yes.
Iran Rohan, or we don't know. They're world citizens, they're global citizens.
Yeah.
They're not going to be saying that you can get me a property and keep it there. For me, like these are forefathers who
Yeah.
think of that. I want to buy a property for my daughter and for my son and another one and all of that.
Yeah.
That's not happening. They would rather
Like-
say that,
like-
Dad, give me some money, educate me, and then after that, if I want to set up a business, let me some money. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, like you remember when we were doing our planning, we just knocked off wedding as a goal.
Completely.
It's their problem. They have to figure it out. We're not gonna get them. The other
Yeah.
thing I realize is that this is the difference between our parents' generation and our generation and the one that's coming next. So this ham that we have become in between, right?
Yeah.
We seem to are to take this load of carrying through the aspiration for us as husband and wife and the aspiration of the children and be able to give everybody a debt free life, right? It's not going to be possible if you're going to be because it's humanly impossible to be from the middle class background that you come from. I don't think
Yep.
our parents have ever paid this kind of fees that we are paying today, whether it's for schools, whether it's for an education in an international university or whatever. To pay this, to keep all of this, to be able to accumulate and amass so much for everyone is not going to be possible. Therefore, it's going to be just important to hammer in on the most important goals, keep the goals fewer,
Yeah.
and target them because resources are always going to be limited.
Absolutely.
Aspiration will always be greater than resources.
True. Yeah, we always chasing more and something.
Yeah, I remember
Dynamic.
our CEO in when I was in Hindustan Lever, Nitin Paranjpe used to there were two things he said, right, and one was A is greater than R, and what that means is ambition will always be greater than resources. So don't come to me saying I need more budgets, right? Ambition will always be greater than resources, and I want and mindset, not an or mindset. Don't come and tell me prioritize, you can have this or you can have that. I want both. So
You
so
figure the how to use
yeah,
the resources.
so this has become like the mantra. So we're all wanting and mindset and
Yeah,
ambition greater than resources, but resources are always going to be limited, and therefore I'm a believer, firm believer, that I think you need to prioritize, and you need to prioritize really hard.
very well said. Another important area, Kedar, I have to have you saying this is
Yes.
about getting the spouse involved, okay?
Yes.
Getting women involved, getting independent women involved, getting married women looking at it, younger women, older women, everyone. We keep on harping and we keep on telling the women run away sometimes from me. But otherwise, they do understand that it's so absolutely so important. While they may take these simpler decisions, the bigger ones are still being taken by the man.
Yes.
Yeah. So, is there any magic formula that you have for us to, say that you get the woman to understand, and want to, I mean, to participate, to understand the whole concept of, right from digital online banking to getting, you know, whichever choices in terms of options to purchase, to spend, everything.
Right. So I mean, I don't have the magic wand, but I think COVID has certainly played a big role of women getting a lot more independent on their financial. Like for example, the amount Priya today does net banking or transactions on her own or UPI transaction, because you've been forced to do it now. And I think there's no greater thing than circumstances to get people into it. But I think by and large, I completely agree. I don't think we've done enough. So as much as it's important to drive investments, especially women who are working, should really pay attention to this a lot. And it's finally teamwork. Um, and I think it's important for women to really participate actively. To me, again, I come back to that Excel sheet. That Excel sheet helped us. I mean, it's not something that comes naturally to Priya. Um, uh, there was there was friction around it, saying no, I don't want, because there is a resistance, because you have to sit down and actually do that. But what it did eventually was, I think by and large, an overall awareness of finances is very, very important to understand. Today, should be fairly well conversant on where the investments are, what value it is at. That high level information she would already be fairly good at. I'd like her to get a little more granular than that, though.
Mm.
And I think that is upon me to be able to evangelize her to. So I think it has to begin at home first.
Yeah, true.
But I like the fact that when we do our reviews, you insist on the fact that it should be done with the husband and wife. It can't be done only with the husband. So I think that's a great thing, and that also brings the person in the conversation. You can't be a standby watcher when you are sitting in a room when your money is being discussed. So I think it is very important. Don't take those meetings if one person turns up. Uh, Treat the person to some good coffee, your lovely sandwiches and hospitality, and send them back. But don't do it without the spouse.
Perfect. So, so well said. Thank you. My second last question
Yes,
is on credit card.
yes.
So, we swipe everywhere,
Mm,
especially because of COVID, all the more.
mm.
So, what do you have? Your thoughts on how many cards do you have? Do you do balance transfers? Do you advise paying cards off on time? What is it that you tell to your friends if there's a discussion about credit cards?
So credit card is a necessary evil. Can you do without it? You can, but uh, you need to have one or two, because there could be at times you might have a sudden emergency that requires a large outlay, where this one particular card will certainly bail you out in that situation, right? Your bank account may not have that kind of liquidity, which your credit card will have at any given point in time. So I think that is something which for me, and that's how I see a credit card, right? It's important to have, because it gives you an additional line of credit at times when you may need it, and you may not have liquidity at your end. My first instinct is always a debit card, as much as possible. Uh, that's because I have burnt my fingers quite badly on credit cards, right? Like I said, our initial days in career, where you were always it was a badge value, to have that, I've run out of money midway through the month, right? It was almost uh, it was fashionable to say that, and then the credit cards kicked in, and then you got into this whole minimum payment, and then minimum payment. You don't realize that, when they say 2%, what that 2% means at that point in time, but it's actually 24%, and that becomes a bummer when that whole thing, mounts up, and you realize that what you're only paying for is the interest and never the principal. So it's an absolute debt trap that one should completely avoid. My principle has always been, after we had cleaned out everything, is that you got to see the credit card like a Marwadi would, right? Because it's actually 45 days to run, rotate your money at interest-free rates, if you see it that way. Um, no offense to Marwadis, in fact, it's a compliment to them, because they know their money much better than most people do. It's a natural instinct that I've seen. But yeah, so what it does for me is that I'm able to get 45 days, and I square it off instantly, whatever it is. So therefore, the spending that I will do on a credit card will always be knowing fully well what's in my bank account, because that's something that I'll have to square off at the end of the month. I can say now very safely that in the last, 7 to 8 years, I would have paid 100% every month on time. So I today have the confidence to be able to do all my spending on a credit card rather than doing it on debit, because that gives me points,
Yeah.
and those points can be redeemed for a free ticket, or a
Holiday.
hotel room, or a
Yeah,
holiday, right?
perfect.
And that's sizable. The amount of spending that you do per month, if you just convert all of that into points, why not? If you're anyways paying into a debit card, it's anyways going from a bank account. You might as. But that discipline of saying, don't go haywire, know what's in the bank, and only spend as much on your credit card should be your mantra. It's a good thing to have. I don't think credit cards are bad, but they're bad when you treat them badly.
Right. Absolutely. Coming to the last one,
Yeah.
is that we get a lot of laughs from the 20, 30, 40-year-olds. 40-year-olds at least are okay when we start telling them that you need to think about a retirement plan. So the word retirement really kicks them off, and they say that, you don't talk to me, I'm too young.
Yeah.
Think about that. This is the same thing that we spoke about earlier about
There is invincibility and on steroids. So there is no way he's receptive even to wanting to listen to retirement when you're starting out, right?
yeah. So we started moving towards talking to people about lifestyle management, and that seems to kind of resonate, and they're willing to at least listen.
Mhm.
But as we know that is going to be a huge bucket coming up in the future, and we've heard enough clients tell us that, why didn't I meet you earlier?
Mm.
Why didn't I meet you earlier, Chitra, Meena, Chanda, Mehul, Jyoti? Why didn't you tell me that, why didn't you tell me to start with 10,000 per month, 20,000 per month? I would have been sitting on a couple of crores,
Right.
you know. So then it's that, I am meeting the you, today's you, right?
Yeah.
And that person is not getting it,
Yeah.
and is there anything, what clicked for you?
Yeah. I think, like I said, my journey was pot of gold to goal, right? So I think if you had told me goal at that point and at that age, probably it would not have resonated with me. I'm saying, BV, bache, unka education. I'm like here. I've not even lived my own life. For me to start even planning so much, and
Yeah,
that's an insight that there was one brand that we were working on, which is again in a similar financial advisory space, and a lot the research that we did, we realized that goal-based thinking seems to hit hard only after a certain stage in your life. It doesn't, as your responsibilities increase, is when goal-based thinking, or you start seeking goal-based thinking. Uh, but at the start is, I think, what resonates with people is, I think, compounding,
correct.
right? So if you were to tell them compounding and not goal-based, you'll probably have it'll light up. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
गोल-बेस्ड उनको बोलोगे तो नहीं, वो लोग नहीं सुनेंगे.
Yeah, true. That's
Yeah.
wonderful, Kedar. And
Thank
I'm
you.
opening up for Q&As now. And
Sure. Happy.
I think a couple of your friends are already on. And
Oh, lovely.
first is let me just run a quick poll before I get out. Yeah. Requesting our attendees to please answer this. And if anybody would like to ask Kedar a question, kindly raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can talk to him. There are two questions that are on. I would like to do my goal-based planning and how was your experience of this webinar? Your feedback is really important to us. Kindly please share it. And,
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Anna, I was saying the feedback is really important, so I'm requesting
Yes.
the attendees to please
Yeah.
answer because it always helps us understand what we need to do also more.
Yeah.
There has been fantastic feedback for all the sessions that we've been doing. Like I said, it's more about stories rather than about actually hardcore talking products or anything of the sort. So
Right.
yeah, cool. And anybody else who would like to ask Kedar anything? Okay. So yeah, I think we're done, Kedar.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
This
you
is
very,
good.
very much. Yeah.
Pleasure. Pleasure is all
Thanks
mine.
a ton, Kedar. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a
Thank you
great evening.
for joining in.
Yeah.
You have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, Joe.